know something absolutely insane? Of the 535 members of Congress across the Senate and the House of Representatives, Marjorie Taylor Greene made the most money on book sales last year, and her book came out 2 years ago. Yes, she is a best-selling book author, earning $178,000 for her biography last year. The next closest being John Fetterman. That must have been a compelling book. I wish I had seen that. Senator Warnock and Bernie Sanders. I would love to have had Bernie Sanders at the top of that, but no, it was Marjorie Greene. And I just want to pause for 1 sec. And I want you to imagine that evidently there are at least tens of thousands of people who got done with work for the day, got themselves a nice warm beverage, sat in a cushy chair, and opened up Marjorie Greene's biography and then read it. That's so strange, man. I cannot imagine doing that. It's possible that her biography is basically just 2 or 3 of her tweets strung together, though. That would make for a novel length work. But anyway, yeah, no, she made a bunch of money. Now, she didn't want us to know how much she made because initially her financial disclosure didn't mention the book agreement that she got, which could be illegal. But again, there's really no standards for any of this stuff. But anyway, congrats to the Congresswoman for both writing a book, assuming she actually wrote it, and having it sell well. If not to regular people, at the very least, think tanks evidently bought up a bunch of it, or PACs or whatever. But whatever, she sold a lot of books. And these days, that's rarer than you might think because most people don't read that much. And here is Harry Ented to break it down.
Read a book for leisure this year. Look, in 1992, it was the majority of us, 61%. 2002, 57%. You can see the trend going on here. 2012, 55%. And then in the latest reading, look at this, less than 50%. The majority of Americans now are not, in fact, reading a book for leisure in a given year. What are we doing instead? Hours playing games or on the computer for pleasure. Look at this, since 2003, up 97%. We are looking at our screens. We are playing video games. We are on our computers for leisure. We are no longer reading books. Whether or not that's a good thing, I'll leave it to the audience. But based upon some of the mental health statistics, I would argue it's a bad thing. As I said at the beginning of this segment, read, people, read. It's good for the soul and it's good for the mind.
Now, setting aside the irony that we're being warned about the danger of screens by a guy who stands in front of one of the biggest ones that exists. Anyway, look, I am a doomer basically when it comes to reading. I talk often about how worried I am that people read as little as they do, particularly men and particularly boys. I don't think we read nearly enough. And as someone who wants to be an author, that scares me. That said, though, in the last 30 years, it dropped from 62% to 49%. I would have guessed it's lower than that. So I don't think that's bad. And I don't think, video games going up by 97% in the last 20 plus years, that's half the time video games have existed. I think it's okay. Also, I think people are too casual, Jackson, and lumping playing video games in with other mindless hobbies. Playing video games is not a mindless thing. You are engaged, you're active, you're making choices, you're using your brain. That's not, to me, the same thing as just mindlessly watching whatever video Mark Zuckerberg says should be up next in your feed or whatever. But that said, I do want people to read more, and I am worried that most people now don't read a single book a year. What do you think?
I think the most negative implications of that is more and more people don't know how to think, and that already isn't particularly encouraged within the American public education system. You're taught more of what to think, I think, in most public education systems. But thinking is a skill set, and learning only enhances your thinking. And you really can't expand your knowledge and your database unless you read. I mean, you can watch videos and stuff like that, but there's much more written material on anything that you want to learn than there is video material on it. And it gives you more patience. It gives you more discipline. It helps to keep your attention span worth a damn. Mm-hmm. And, with more and more younger generations being on iPads from the time they're 2 years old, you're robbed of that a bit. So I don't, not that everyone should read a bunch of fiction novels and history all the time, but just knowing how to do that is a good way to arrive at a valuable conclusion than just oh, what did
Yeah.
this person on TikTok say? Who could have absolutely no credentials or no real history in the field that they're talking about. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think again, your knowledge is just going to be very limited if you don't read on some type of a regular basis.
Yeah, that's what I fear. Final couple points. People are asking, does this count like reading on Kindles? Yes, I believe that poll.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter where you read it. It counts on the stats they were talking about. And some people are saying they read right before they go to bed. That's what I've done for a long time. I have my Kindle right next. That's like how I relax for bed. I'm in bed. It's dark. I've got my Kindle. I read a few pages, and it adds up over time. And also, like, look, I don't want to say everybody needs to immediately jump into reading like Stephen King or Robert Jordan or something. You can start with short fiction by going to my Patreon, search Peanut Butter Storytime, and I write short sci-fi and fantasy, and you can read a little bit of that before bed, and that's an easy way to get into reading once again. But anyway, I think that there's a lot of value of reading, and I also think it's going to come back into vogue. I think maybe not Gen Z, but Gen Alpha, they are going to see the previous generations as being a bunch of digital zombies, and they're going to think it's really sad and really cringy. And I think they're going to pick up analog stuff like books. Maybe that's just my hope as an old man. I don't know. But I think it just might happen. In any event, I would love.
I do agree with that last sentiment in the sense of like Gen Z kind of got the worst brunt of the technological boom, the digital boom. And with Generation Alpha, we have an opportunity to address those things, like make sure your kids are playing outside and we need to read more and stuff like that. So I agree.
Yeah, I think they're going to exist in a world where it's always been there. It's not novel anymore. And they're going to see, like, we all look to see what vices and faults the prior generations have. And we very rarely want to live the same life as the previous generations. So I hope that helps them out in some of these areas and they can rediscover diverse real world hobbies. The analog world can have a lot of pleasure in it too.
If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.